Today, we're diving into a story about a journey that doesn't really move in a straight line. We're going to follow a young man through the circular and often heartbreaking path of addiction, loss, and that constant fight for a second chance.
Right at the very beginning of the book, we get this quote, and honestly, it is the key to understanding everything that comes next. See, this isn't a story about forgetting what happened. It's about learning to live with the scars without flinching. It just perfectly sets the stage for a really difficult but honest journey of healing.
So we're not just looking at addiction as, a single mistake or a bad choice. The book frames it as a complex architecture, something that was built piece by piece, starting from a really young age. Let's dig into how that structure was put together.
Okay, so our story starts with the protagonist, Carlos. And from his earliest memories, it was a childhood where he always felt like he was separated from the world by these invisible walls. This feeling of being an outlier. Well, it's the foundation for everything that's about to happen.
To really get Carlos, you have to get his family. I mean, look at this. You have Ahmad, the structured, meticulous firstborn. Then there's Sadiq, the cautious, observant one, and Mary, the fragile, anxious youngest. And then you have Carlos, defiant and charismatic. He was a total outlier right from the start.
For Carlos, that strict religious home wasn't a comfort. It was confinement. It felt like a cage. He always felt like he was just performing a role, saying the holy words that never actually touched his heart. And that disconnect, that was the real root of his quiet rebellion.
So how does a kid like that cope? Well, this was his personal mantra, his strategy for survival. Instead of open defiance, barking, he chose to be cunning. He learned to navigate his world by being clever, hiding his true self while he looked for cracks in the cage.
And this is where the story really starts to shift. Teenage boredom and that search for belonging, they become the actual building blocks for the architecture of his addiction. He's building a whole new world for himself, one based on smoke and the silence it created in his head.
You can see the whole descent mapped out so clearly here. I mean, it starts pretty innocently, right? Skipping school, finding a voice in rap music. But then, 2009, he takes that first hit from a joint, a huge turning point. By university, he's found his tribe, the circle, and then comes 2014, what he calls the year of the float. That's when pharmaceuticals become a routine.
And get this, the group, the circle, they had this one solemn promise, this one rule meant to keep them all safe. But, promises made in a haze, they're kind of like smoke rings. They look cool for a second, but they're always destined to disappear. That line they drew in the sand? It was eventually crossed by pretty much everyone.
He called it floating, this feeling of being detached from all the world's problems. But that detachment, it wasn't freedom, it was a trap. With every pill, every missed class, he was just racking up a debt that he was absolutely going to have to repay one day.
Okay, so right before the story takes a sudden, violent turn, there's this brief, almost beautiful moment of control and creation. A fragile little period of order that just makes the chaos that's coming feel even more jarring.
So Carlos gets really into meticulously cultivating a blue dream cannabis plant. And this wasn't really about getting high, it was about the craft, the patience, the control. For the first time, he built something that actually thrived under his care. It was this perfect little symbol of the stability he was craving.
He had built this tiny pocket of order in his chaotic life, and then this simple, chilling line from the book just hits you. Then the intersection changed its mind. The fragile piece he'd found is about to be absolutely shattered.
And that's the brutal poetry of the crash. A delivery truck runs alight. His world just collapses. Steel into steel, glass into powder. The symmetry he'd so carefully cultivated is just gone.
So that brings us to the final, and maybe the most difficult part of his journey, the recovery. And this isn't some simple, straight line to getting better. No way. It's a grueling cycle where every new beginning seems to lead right back to the exact same struggle.
His physical recovery alone was a battle that was fought in inches, from the initial shock of waking up in the ICU, to the agony of immobility, to that sacred moment of standing up for the very first time with his parents holding him up. And then, finally, taking those first steps on his own. That was a monumental victory, a triumph that came without any substance at all, just pure, painful effort.
What you see here is the devastating tug of war happening inside him. On one side, you've got these genuine attempts to rebuild. He goes back to school, he's got his girlfriend Lena supporting him. But on the other side,
There's this powerful pull of addiction, and it leads him to relapse, to hide his habit, and eventually to steal from the very people who trust him the most.
And this is the tangible cost. This is where it stops being an abstract struggle. 3,000 pounds, stolen from his youngest, most fragile sister. This number just makes the betrayal feel so concrete, and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
And this exchange, it just captures the entire struggle. His sister's plea is so soft and broken, and his reply, it isn't defiant, it's just defeated. I can't. It's a devastating admission of the power this addiction has over him. He really has become a ghost in his own home.
But even in his absolute darkest moments, there's this one constant thread of hope. It's a message from Lena, his girlfriend. Her quiet, unwavering belief in him, just for existing, serves as this vital anchor, reminding him that underneath all of it, he's still in there somewhere.
And that's where the story leaves us, with this final question. It doesn't offer any easy answers. It shows us that healing isn't a single event. It's a constant, difficult choice you have to keep making. It really forces us to ask, when every new start leads back to the same fight, what does a true second chance even look like?